Alright, so today we have a project that has been underway for a day or so now. If you were there at the stream, this is where we spent the majority of the 24-hour live stream that I did on Twitch here. And yeah, safe to say I'm never doing a 24-hour stream again. Do appreciate everybody that was there for almost the full time or stopped by at any given point within that stream. It was fun for the first 2/3 of it, and then it kind of got just pretty too much. This is too much of this game. It's way too much, even with all the breaks I took watching, clips and stuff like that, or YouTubes and whatever. It's just too much to do ever again. It was a nice one-time thing. I'll probably stick to the 12-hour streams if I do anything like that again. But yeah, this is where we spent the majority of the time getting the trenches done. We used the 3-wide trencher from Kronos on the side here, and then we used a new machine that went across like this. It's basically a mini world eater that made the 14-wide trench over here. We used this one instead of the 12-wide just because the 12-wide isn't the best in Ocean. We had a couple issues with the 3-wides because of the block shield erosion, and then it created cobblestone gens and whatnot. So yeah, we kind of went away with that one, unfortunately, with this project, because it was a pure ocean. All of the trenches here are pure ocean, regardless of where you started, because obviously it is a mushroom island. So not the most fun of areas to make a 530 perimeter in. Of course, you can see this is a rather large one. There's actually 3 ocean monuments right on the outside. We did actually go through this one with the trench here. That made this trench extremely more annoying than it did this one, because there's a lot of different gaps within it, and there's also, we had the icebergs over here too, so this trench took a majority of the time, and obviously the 3-wides are very quick because you only got to mine the 3 bit on the bottom. And of course we had some help with some server members while the stream was going on, so that made it, overall, the trenches still took about 16 hours or so. So not the most fun of things to do, to say the least. It was nice that I had other things to hop in between as well, but it still took pretty much the full day, literally, to get all of this stuff pretty much cleared out. And now we have the world eater running. That was also built up by a couple of server members as well. They had that all done and dusted very quickly. We were able to make the top of the world eater with this other trench going on at the same time. Normally with the 12-wides and the 3-wides, they take up so much height that you can't make the world eater until they're fully done. So, but with this one, because it was basically a small world eater that went down and down and down, at a certain point it was below where we would need the blocks for the world eater. So that was easy to make as well. And then all we had to do was do the bottom sections, which are usually really easy to do. Especially with this world eater, you can get it done very quickly. So this one technically only needs a 12-wide trench, but we made the thing with the 14-wide trencher, so we have a little bit extra space, which isn't the worst thing in the world. Obviously, the outside made of gravel is going to leak in a lot of stuff, so I'm kind of just leaving it here until we get below the ocean, and then I should be able to just top it all off, and nothing else should break. Otherwise, this whole wall would be gone, and we have to make it again, which is not great, or not great fun, to say the least. So yeah, just reached 66,000 obsidian mine with the last one I just mined over here. I did pause the world eater. I wanted to clear out a couple of obsidian stuff that was leaking. This one obviously would make no sense to clear out yet, because it's all covered in water. So if you were to mine one block, you would basically create another block, and it's just overall a lot more smarter to just wait until you get down to that layer and all the servers get paused, because then you don't got to worry about creating more obsidian by mining some obsidian. But yeah, it's an ocean perimeter. It's not going to be fun even in 1.17, so I'll leave the backup now. That way I have a one for it being underway. Didn't look at what level we're at, but it should be like under 40, 27. So yeah, we still got probably like 3 or 4 hours with mining the obsidian that we'll have, because there is quite a bit. As you can see from the map, there's that full ravine I was just in. There's ones that the water has leaked into all across the perimeter, and there's probably some other pockets and whatnot lower down. backup has been made there. So I'm going to relaunch it, and then we'll be back once this area is fully cleared out, because we got some decoration to plan out and whatnot. So we'll see what we come up with, and we will go from there. Alright, so this is Illyria's farm that we're going to be adapting to work in a single dimension format here. Obviously, I don't want to use portals, as obviously, this is pretty clean, I guess you could say, but it's not very creative in a sense in terms of, how a farm could be if it's fully single dimension. It offers a lot more variety to do the stuff, as well as a bit more creativity, as well as a bit of problem solving to, get everything to piece together, work together in unison. So yeah, we'll try to adapt this into a single dimension. So obviously all the portals will be ripped out, and we might have to increase the size of the farm to make it actually worthwhile. I don't believe this was too particularly fast. Obviously, getting rid of the mobs in the 20-second time frame is very easy with portals. So that the difficulty will now be getting everything up and into the kill chamber within that 20-second time frame window, thus freeing the mob cap that we have to work with so that another batch can spawn. One thing I really do like with the Illyria's spawning platform is the fact that we only have one of them that has the tripwire hooks. Now, you may think that that kind of is redundant, like why wouldn't you have them all at that point and just make it based off a spawning attempt and not the clock itself? Well, with the clock, if we turn this farm on, for example, you click the lever to turn the farm on, you'll see that only the one that has the tripwires is drained first. Now, why would we want that to be the case? Well, yes, now it does mean that our startup will be taking a little bit longer as we have left spawning spaces to get everything here. But what this does mean is that we can automatically set up and sync a clock within the farm itself. That's why we only have the tripwires on one spot, because the first time we get a spawn from here, we automatically sync the 20-second timer for the passive mob spawning right here. So this is the clock Illyria uses, fit the items in the hopper, gives us that exact 20-second 400 game tick window here. So if I go down here, you'll see that it'll start the sequence, it'll flush this one, and a few seconds later, because it only needs to go to the portals, it will then drain it and then open the spawning paths to be spawned on. Now, if I were, of course, in the right biome, we would get some mob spawning here. Before, we'll just ignore that. Before the spawning sequence is over, then they get flushed into the portals, and thus that drains. Now, you will notice that if any mob intersects with this now, it doesn't actually matter, because this is a regular piston, and that has pushed that redstone block out of the way, freeing the timer to go on and off. The only way you turn this off is by turning the block back off, whereas the piston is then pushed back over and pausing the farm. Obviously, since I just paste this in the creative testing world, these portals lead to nowhere, so these mooshrooms just sit right there and there. So that concept I will definitely be taking. It was very intriguing to me. Not only does it make it easier to build, you don't get to be placing all these tripwires and string all over the platforms, which does actually raise the height map a little bit for everything there. Not the biggest of deals in older versions, but this one where every block matters above, we definitely want to decrease it as much as we can. So yeah, I'm going to try to whip up some stuff here. I think we're going to do a stream working off some conveyors and everything like that. So, of course, if you wanted to see some behind the scenes stuff, links in the description down below to the Twitch. A lot of the off-camera stuff on there. So definitely be sure to give that a follow. So yeah, let's get designing here, and we'll be back once we're ready to build the final finished version in the survival world. Alright, from that time lapse there, you saw us make the farm in full from start to the end. Only thing I really did was just set the filters and item frames in the UI and whatnot, and then verify it, of course, make sure everything was in the right spot, which it seems to be as of now. I am currently testing the farm, with everything, so 70 minutes, roughly 4,000 items per hour. 2,300 of that being steak, and 1,600 of that being the leather. We can ignore the player heads and the raw beef. The raw beef was from the failed first little bit of the thing, but that has been resolved. And the player heads are a vanilla tweak drop that we don't gotta worry about. But hey, as you can see here, the full farm is pretty straightforward. Huge thanks to Allura for a little bit of help and inspiration with their own design they had. This one here flushes them off the platform here. They fall down. Then these conveyors will push them over to here where they get combined with the other two. Those get pushed over and then up to the top here where they get put over there. So unfortunately, I didn't know this at first, but fire aspect does not work with Sweeping Edge. It only affects the mob you actually hit. So I added this netherrack here that will light the mobs on fire as they go up and around. You can see this here in a second. Oh, we didn't get any of them there. Let's wait till we get actually some spawning. There we go. But yeah, what that does is it'll light them on fire. That way we get the cooked steak rather than just the regular raw beef that we don't get later. So you got they lit on fire and then they get swiped right then and there. And yeah, so that's what happens there. Just a little bit of a small enhancement with this fire. It also does technically allow it to be used in Luden mode, which I don't see why you would, because the rates would drop off drastically. Probably like way under a shulker box of steak per hour. But if you didn't want to use an auto clicker or whatever like that, you could technically use this farm without it. For this bit less of build effort, you could do the same thing, just let them falling off. But you wouldn't get the maximum amount of rates because of the height map and whatnot. But yeah, overall, this area has turned out amazing. You saw the decoration that we've covered in the previous couple clips here that we designed. I do love how it turned out. This thing looks absolutely beautiful, especially with shaders on. It turned out really, really well, and the farm colors to match the decoration in total make it that much better. And it still is a very satisfying farm to watch. I am very much liking these single dimension farms rather than all the portal spam and dual dimension stuff. They all are unique in their own ways, and especially because I had to design this one myself, a little bit of help from Illyrio, this was a interesting thing to take part in rather than just doing the same farm that everybody else has done before. So yeah, it's not perfect with their pathfinding. They tried to move around. If we could somehow avoid that, then they wouldn't be causing any issues with them moving. So I had to include a couple of dispensers down here with lava buckets, and you can see some of them move out. And over here, they get stuck in this first one somehow. But yeah, we have this to dispose of the leftovers that don't make their way up. That way we can free up the mod cap again, and we don't gotta worry about that in the future. Yeah, the baby filters down here, that's what this lava is for. The babies will either get pushed off into here by the piston extending, and then if they for some reason walk over to here or get pushed over, it's what the magma blocks are responsible for, is to do that. And it also damages the cows on their way up. That way you don't really need any beacons or anything like that, which you really don't need at all for them. But this sort of makes it a little bit easier, and also technically allows this fire to dispose of them without the player necessary. So you can see here we got 928 of the mooshrooms. I started with roughly about 100, so we're getting a roughly 800 or so Roughly on a single cap, the bed bot isn't really affecting it too much. I've seen it go to like 12 or 13, which is still possible in 117 with pack spawning, but there's no over spawning, so we can't get like 30 or something like that with just a single player. That's not the case anymore. So slightly influx rate of the 2300 stake might be about like 2250. It's not drastic because you don't get the full mob cap every single time. You would need a slightly larger farm for that, and at that point it's really not much worth it for the extra couple cows you would get. So yeah, we don't need any bedrock breaking. You can see there's a couple of blocks down here at bedrock level, but the only blocks you need down here are just support blocks for repeaters. And so there's no need to break any bedrock. You could, of course, make it lower down if you wanted to, but you wouldn't get that much substantial rate increase. But it could be a thing, and of course with that, you wouldn't get the cool decoration that we were able to do here. Yeah, that's pretty much everything here. Like I said, we got roughly, let's do a refresh here. So we got 2260, so roughly 2300 of that, and roughly 1600 leather per hour. I'd say that's pretty good for how small this farm was. I built it up in roughly 2 hours on stream. So we got a time lapse on that while I was doing it. So yeah, I definitely still think this is a good success. It was a good learning experience for me with these conveyors. They are super tedious sometimes, but it was fun to design my own farm overall, even though it was at times rather challenging to do so. But yes, I let this farm go for a little bit longer. I've been sitting in it for roughly 80 minutes now. Just testing out the rates to be sure I could get an accurate count when I do the video on it. That's gonna be it for today. Make sure to like, subscribe, all sorts of things, and I'll see you in the next one.